everybody,
All right,
and
bathroom break.
happy Tuesday. Yeah, naturally.
Just kidding.
It's been about a week since Jason did something to mess with me starting this goddamn show on time, so I think we were overdue for that. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Delve Requisite. This is episode 51. We are back after some IRL technical difficulties last night, prevented one of our players from getting here for stream, and we ended up playing some Quiplash last time. But this week, we are back with D&D. So, before we begin, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp, Many-Sided Dice, the Twitch affiliate program, Team MZ, and of course our newest sponsor, the Cardboard Castle. Thank you to all of our sponsors who support us and allow us to do what we do here. Sometimes give us free things to give to your faces, which unfortunately I don't have any free things to give anybody's faces tonight, except for 3 hours of wonderful entertainment. If you type exclamation point, it's already being done, exclamation point Little Dragon, or exclamation point CCG in chat at any time during tonight's stream, you'll be given a link to those respective websites where you can go and you can visit them and purchase things, and you can use, at least at Little Dragon Corp, you can use our code PROBONUS for a 10% discount on your order. Get some dice, do it. You know you want to. You need them. Buy all the shiny math rocks. Alrighty, so without any further ado, let's jump into tonight's episode. As you can see, if you look to my, I guess on stream, it is my left. At the very bottom, our friend Brittany is joining us tonight. She's going to be playing a as-yet-to-be revealed character as a special guest. The three idiots above her are playing the same characters they always play.
Sorry.
And where we left off those three idiots, they were on a caravan headed from the capital city of Niveria in the Kingdom of Mithlande, sort of southwest, part of the way across the kingdom, where they are headed for the home of the bookkeepers, a city by the name of Terra Libra, which is on the bank of the right this level, about yay far across. My hand will disappear before it gets there, but yay far across that big sort of body of water lake there is where the city of Terra Libra is located. That is where they are heading. They are currently about half that distance, right on the border of that nice verdant green forest here, where they encountered last time a traveler walking wearily along the trail, horseless, packless, carrying no supplies, and barefoot. They stopped to aid this traveler in distress, only to discover that he had had a run-in with some kind of an strange, mysterious, unknowable group in the forest, where he had been snatched up from his campsite in the middle of the night, and then he has kind of a blank stretch of memory before he was dumped back on the trail without all of his belongings. One of the wizards that the group is traveling with, Dimios Themeran, one of the collective of the Arcane Eye, believes that it is possible that this traveler had a run-in with a local group of wood elves, in an attempt to possibly recover this individual's belongings, as well as make friendly with the local wood elves, to perhaps get a little bit of an easier time traveling through this kind of stretch of wilderness here on their way towards Terra Libra. Dimios has suggested that the party seek out the wood elves here and see if they can't make nice with them. We left off last time as the party made camp for an evening, with the intention of the next day setting out to go and track down this community of wood elves if possible. So we will rejoin tonight with the party breaking down their camp in the morning, The wizards sort of getting ready themselves. Their guest in tow, and making plans to sort of head off into the forest here and see if they can't make contact with these wood elves. So, at this point, I will turn it over to you, my players, and you may take it away.
I'm going to look around and see if there are any more runes.
Sure. Go ahead and make an investigation check.
Like how dense is this forest? Is it like
You guys are only... Go ahead, Adam.
24.
Okay. You guys are only a little ways off of, like, sort of the caravan trail that passes through this area. So the there is, like, a pretty easily passable trail, and then in the vicinity of that, it's not too bad, but it does very quickly get pretty dense, like, the further away from the trail that you move. So at this point, you're probably a few hundred yards off of the main caravan trail where you guys made camp. So medium density to the woods at this point, but as you start moving further away, it will start getting more and more dense with underbrush and thicket and things like that.
Taylor, you have any experience with these wood elves before?
Not these wood elves. Ones in the Empire. They got no love for the Empire. So that's a point in their favor. For the most part, they just want to be left alone.
So why don't we leave them alone?
Because it's good manners to meet the folks whose area you're traipsing through.
Also, they stole all my stuff and my shoes. I was kind of hoping maybe you'd help me get those back.
That's a thing as well. Also, if we make nice with them, it never hurts to have a potential marker to call in if we're in this area again and need help.
You were looking for something on the boundary of the forest, right?
Yeah, I was looking. That rune that I pointed out before we made camp earlier, I was looking for more of those.
So you do see as you move a little bit away from your campsite, kind of further in, you definitely see a number of the trees in this area are marked. Most of them very subtly, because your investigation was so high. You do see that there are some of these marks on the trees in this vicinity. You are definitely in sort of the right area. The origin of these runes that you see, being that you are familiar with Elvish, is somewhat familiar to you. So there is a basis in Elvish to these runes, except it is not pure Ignean Elvish, or even further classically Invarian Elvish. There is an element to these runage that sort of it's kind of a bastardized version of the Elvish that you're familiar with, and you're not quite clear on what else is sort of mixed in with this. The general takeaway that you get from what you see is that these are intended to be kind of some of them are boundary markers, some of them are not necessarily arcana, actually spell infused runes, but they are runes of warding, runes of protection, things of that nature.
Would my Eyes of the Runekeeper that lets me read all writing be able to decipher these runes?
Do you speak Elvish on a normal basis?
Common, Dwarvish, and Elvish, yes.
That's okay. So you're sort of in the same boat. You can there's not really much more specific meaning to the runes than what Alar is already to interpret as you're looking at them with your Eyes of the Runekeeper.
It's more like boundary with like a backwards R than like actual like different.
Yeah. It's not like Adam is like, I think these are like protective runes, and then you're like, yes, it says stay out. This means you. They're definitely like symbolic in nature. So while you are not having necessarily to decipher the meaning or like extrapolate the meaning out of the stuff that isn't strictly elvish, there's not much more to them than kind of that. They're very like almost decorative in a lot of ways.
Boy. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
Okay.
So it basically like this is their realm,
Yeah.
and
So
this guy
we're definitely
wandered into their home
and it
lost
sounds
all
like
of his stuff.
he from the story that he gave us, he cut down a tree that probably had markings like this or had some religious or cultural significance. Kind of like somebody walking into a temple and taking the altar and chopping it up for firewood.
He's sort of. Speaking of which, does anybody remember what this guy's name is from last week?
Oh, poop.
I did make him up on the spot, and I don't have it written down.
If only you had some way of figuring it out.
I
like,
meant to go watch the recording from last time, and I didn't have time to do it.
I apologize. I do not recall.
I do not apologize because I don't ever remember anybody's name.
It is my own fault. It is my job to like remember what the name of my NPCs are, and I did not write him down.
It's okay. This is a crazy time in the world.
He's going to be Steve now.
No, we there's only one Steve in this universe.
He's the worst.
And that's Steven, and he is the worst.
Steven.
Yes.
Be Craig now, then.
Craig.
Craig.
Okay, sure.
Craig would go into somebody's house and like shit on the floor.
He is Craigland.
Sorry to all the Craigs out there watching.
His name is Harold Craigland.
Harold Craigland it is.
Harold Craigland, that's his new name. Sorry for whatever his name was last week. He's now Harold Craigland.
And I, Alar, does a calming gesture. You didn't know.
And Dimios says, he says, yes, it's extremely easy to offend wood elves on their territory. He says, to be honest with you, the fact that they, as punishment, took all your belongings and tossed you back on the road is not as bad as it could have been.
Well, it looks like the ruinage gets a little bit more obvious, and Alar points toward where he saw more and more of the runes. So, if I had to guess, that probably leads further into their territory.
And sort of Dimios says, Mr. Craigland, do you recall any particular landmarks, any of this terrain? Does any of this seem familiar to you from your time before you were taken in by these wood elves, or so we suspect? He kind of looks around and says, not really. One bit of wood sort of looks like the next. A lot of these places, I don't remember any real specific, like big rocks or anything like that.
You didn't camp anywhere near, say, a stream, pond, anything like that?
He says, no, nothing like that. I just sort of made my way off the trail. Towards the end of the day one day, and set up camp where I got far enough in that I didn't want to worry about bandits or any other troubles on the road. And Dimios heads over towards like where Namara and Colin are kind of like packing up the carts and stuff, and he says, It is probably best if we are going to seek out these wood elves that we don't go traipsing any further into their home with a bunch of extra people and carts and horses and things, lest we accidentally cause offense any further. Perhaps he gestures towards the three of you. He says, perhaps the gentleman and I shall proceed on foot further from here and return to this campsite after we've concluded our investigation. He looks between the two of them. He says, are you comfortable standing guard over the camp, so to speak?
Absolutely.
And Namara Namara's like, oh yes, of course. I will be the perfect watchman. Nothing gets past me. And she sort of like smiles. And Themius just sort of shakes his head. He says, very well, then you'll be the lookout and Colin will be the muscle. And he walks over to the three of you, Alar, Brahm, and Walter, and he says, very well, then, if you don't mind leaving your horses and your cart in the care of Namara and Colin, then I shall accompany the three of you along with our good friend Mr. Cregland here, and we shall go look to see if we can't find ourselves some wood elves.
One thing, and I conjure Screw the Weasel, walk over to Namara. His eyes aren't anywhere near as sharp as yours, but his nose is extraordinarily sharp. And he'll hand off Scooter to her.
I feel more safe already.
Alright. I'd suggest weapons stay in sheaths, folks. We may already be watched.
Okay. I'll put my hands in my pockets.
Alrighty. So you head in to the woods. Go ahead and make me a survival check for group review. Demios will help as well.
Wait till I'm lost in the woods already.
Demios is no help.
Oh, I'm less.
I am a whole whopping 12.
With what's your plus to survival?
2.
Oh. Okay.
So I rolled absolutely average.
So with my plus 0 to survival, I got a 1.
Nice.
Okay. So you start walking the other way.
Brahm
Dr. Strongfast shows up, and it's like, were you with the carriage?
Oh my god, I forgot you guys named the horse Dr. Strongfast.
I'm trying to forget.
Named the horse Dr. Strongfast.
14, by the way.
14 for Brahm. Demios got a 3. Alar got what was it, 12, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys sort of pick a direction and just start going. You're not necessarily sure what you're looking for. From what you do know of wood elves, they are they're exceedingly private. In general, they don't much interact with outsiders, and their homes where they actually reside are it's extremely rare for outsiders to visit them. So you just kind of start walking, and you keep an eye out for trees with markings on them, things like that. To the best of your assumption, really what you are hoping to accomplish is you just walk, and eventually they'll find you. As you don't really have much more to go on. You walk for about 2 hours, just sort of heading into the woods. And eventually you come into a kind of a small clearing. And what you see at the center of this clearing is that there is a tree that was perhaps slightly larger than like you could put your arms around the trunk of it, and touch your fingers on the other side. But you can see that sort of right in the center of this small clearing, it's maybe only 15 or so feet across, was this tree, but this tree has been cut down. It lays right where it was cut, right where it fell, and it the canopy of it sort of has crashed a little bit into the fall like outside the boundary of this clearing, so it's sort of laying on some other smaller trees and some underbrush, which is like propping it a little bit at an angle off the ground. But basically, this tree was cut and like fell and then was just left there, and that's what you see in this clearing.
Recently?
It looks fairly recent, as you're looking from the edge of the clearing. The like the wood of the stump is it's not like you don't see that it's like actively like bleeding. There's not like sap coming up, but it's not it's still like the wood is much paler than like the surrounding like bark and stuff, and there's no like suckers or anything coming up off of it that would indicate that this has spent more time than probably wasn't cut like this morning, but it probably wasn't cut last season either.
Mr. Craigland, does that look familiar?
He's looking at it, and he kind of looks. He says, "No, this is not where I was. I certainly wouldn't have cut something down of that size just for firewood. No, this is not where I was at all. I don't think."
I'm going to summon
Excuse
up.
me 1 second.
I'm going to summon up Morgan and send her up and see if I can use her senses to see if there's anything else in the surrounding area.
Oh, yeah. Just for chat's sake, his full name does appear to be Harold Bob Carl Kyle Craigland. Weirdly enough, he has a lot of middle names.
Must have a lot of family members that said, "Hey, you're gonna name your kid after me?"
Yeah. His middle name is Bob. His confirmation name is Carl. And he was at one point his parents did hyphenate their last name as they couldn't decide whose name to take when they got married. So his last name was Kyle Craigland, but he did just shorten it to Craigland. I got distracted by chat. So what are we doing? What's somebody doing?
I was going to send
D&D.
Morgan up and see if there was yes, D&D.
Yeah. Oh, right. D&D.
Yeah, I'm going to send Morgan up and see if she's
Shit, we put the Scrabble board away.
Okay. Have Morgan make a perception check as she flies up into the sky.
She has a +3 to perception, so we're going to do roll 20. She got a 4 because she has a +3 to perception, so she kind of like flies into the tree and just kind of like chills out at the top of it.
So you guys see Walter appears his familiar Morgan, and he says, "Look with your special eyes," and he like flings her into the air dramatically, and she flutters like 8 feet away and lands on a branch, and then just starts like preening a little bit. That is what you get when you don't give your familiar enough familiar snacks. They don't listen to you.
See,
Morgan.
This is why I spend a lot of time working with Scooter.
No, so Morgan does fly up and does a lap as instructed. She does not see anything out of the ordinary. that she reports back to you.
Sure. Okay. Just gonna report back. Just a bunch of trees in this forest. I don't see any other downed ones.
I don't understand. Why would this one be cut down?
Does it have any symbols on it, or?
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Alar's gonna get a bit closer, and he's going to investigate.
Okay, go ahead. Make an
It's a
investigation
tree
roll
in the
for me.
middle of a clearing. Like it's probably here on purpose.
27.
You move slightly closer, and you kind of counterclockwise your way around this clearing to sort of take in all angles of this tree. And as you get kind of to the far side of it, and look, you see that the trunk of this tree, from about what would have been like 2-3 feet up off the ground to about the 15-foot mark. The side that was facing you when you approached was just smooth bark. The other side is it doesn't look carved, but it is very intricately what's the word I'm looking for? There's like a mural is not the right word, but it essentially, there's like this relief image on the other side of the tree that depicts you see all manner of flora and fauna shown sort of in this very complicated
Mosaic?
Sort of mosaic in this tree. But with that investigation roll there, you're kind of looking, and you can clearly see that it does not look like anyone took tools to this tree. It almost looks like the tree grew this way. Impossibly enough as it is for how detailed and complicated this image is. And it looks very much like this, the side of the tree was living wood until it was cut down.
Okay, so this... Oh, somebody really ticked off the elves.
Alrighty.
Is
What
there
are the
any
rest of you
evidence?
doing?
I'm gonna look around for anything of a camp or any reason someone would have chopped this down apart from just outright spiting the elves in the area.
Okay. Go ahead and make an investigation check of the clearing as you move in.
This wasn't
Natural 20, so 24.
Okay.
Right.
You move into the area. You're specifically looking okay, who did this and why? And you're walking around, and you can clearly see from the chopped part of the tree and the stump that is left. You can clearly see that this was definitely done with hand tools. It is cut. There's a wedge cut into one side. So basically, somebody took an axe to this, cut, chop, 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 knocked out a wedge, and then weakened it the rest of the way until it lumberjack style. They dropped it. You don't see any fresh footprints or anything like that. You don't see evidence of a camp being set up here. From what you can tell, looking at this area, either anything that was here has washed away with a rain, or kind of grown back in over the time this area has been, since this was done. But as far as you can tell, it looks like somebody literally just came into this clearing, cut this tree down, and then left it here. It is at this point, Alar and Walter, as you guys have moved kind of out into the clearing and are looking around. Alar, as you are inspecting the tree, you hear, and then an arrow hits the tree a foot. You're reaching out and kind of feeling this and looking at it. An arrow hits the tree 6 inches from your hand. Alar, a moment later, you hear again from somewhere off in the wood line. You hear the twang of a bowstring, and an arrow hits the ground right near your foot. I do need everybody to roll initiative.
Okay. 18.
Okay.
11.
Also 18. Oops, sorry.
So Walter and Alar. Brahm is 11.
Yes.
Brittany, did you roll initiative?
19.
Ooh, okay. I gotta do something.
Be back in right. 1 second.
Okay. Let me. I'm gonna send you a message in our Facebook thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Secret message.
So when we find out she's 6 levels ahead of us, she's gonna kill us all in
That's
every
right.
campaign.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Clean up
So
the game, guys.
yeah. Okay. So that was a 19. You. Alrighty. So, as these two arrows come zipping out of the wood line from two different directions, you guys basically jump to action. But Brittany, your mystery self is going to be the first to act here.
I'm going to stay hidden behind
Yup.
the tree line where I'm
Roll
been the whole time.
Yeah, roll a stealth check for me at this point.
That's a dirty 20.
Ooh, okay. All right. Got it.
So I'm going to stay hidden where I am. And my bow pulled back with an arrow ready. And I was aiming for Alar, but now I'm going to slowly shift towards Brahm. And I say, move 1 inch. That'll be the last thing you ever do.
Okay. In what language are you saying this?
I will say it for the idiots in common.
Okay. All right. So for the idiots, it's the last thing you'll ever do.
If you really wanted to say it for the idiots, you would have said it in Orcish.
No, that's racially insensitive.
I am an orc. I can say it.
Oh well.
Half orc, anyway.
Okay. All right. So Walter and Alar, you guys are up next. You hear from somewhere in the trees. You hear this sort of disembodied voice in common make this statement towards you.
Alar doesn't move an inch, but he does say, "We mean you no harm."
All right.
I am going to hold an action to I'm going to take Alar's lead, but I'm going to hold an action, keep my hands in my pockets, and get ready to Eldritch Blast anything that pops out at me that's actually being aggressive.
Okay. Alar, make a persuasion roll.
13.
Okay.
Do I get the sense there's multiple people here?
At least 2 arrows were fired from 2 different directions. So
Gotcha.
there is at least 2 people somewhere in the vicinity. Okay, so Alar has Alar has made his persuasion check.
Taylor is making his persuasion
The
check.
DM have roll dices good and do words and things. So Brahm, what are you doing? As Alar has said this, but nothing has happened yet.
I guess, could I tell vaguely where the voice came from?
You can make a perception check to try and see what you can see in the vicinity here.
That's gonna be a 19.
The 19, you do not see anybody in this vicinity. You saw sort of vaguely where those two arrows came from, which was like on opposite sides of this clearing. So there's like where you're standing, the trees in the middle, and so if you're at like, let's call it cardinal point south of this circular clearing, Alar and Walter are like in the middle of it. The two arrows came from like cardinal points east and west, like this way. So like Alar and Walter are like caught in the crossfire between however many like people are in the woods. But try as you might as you like look. The clearing's only about 15 feet across.
Bad day for somebody.
But Brahm, try as you might to like you like look, you scan, you cannot see a single soul in the vicinity of here.
Okay. Well, no, that would probably involve moving. I guess then I'll ready the action. Then
Okay.
If more arrows start firing, I'm gonna take out Bianca and cast protection from good or evil.
Okay.
Good and evil.
Alrighty. So you're going to ready that action. Dimios quickly brings his hands up. He makes a quick series of gestures. His good hand, doing like most of the heavy lifting, where the sort of the gloved hand that you guys have since learned, or at least Alar has since learned, is like crumpled and like slightly cursed, just kind of like assisting. He quickly just casts a very brief spell, and you see like a quick shimmer of like slightly glittery like arcane armor kind of like surrounds him, as he just quickly throws up a mage armor, and then as soon as he's completed with that, he holds both hands up in the air, and he says in Elvish, he says the words, "We come in peace. We are friends of the forest. Please stand down." Harold is going to hide. So he's going to make a check to hide, and he goes and he just like backs up like 5 feet and like gets behind a tree like, oh! Ah! And that's all he's going to do. Alrighty. So we are back at the top of the order. Brittany, with you. You have seen what they have done. Your compatriots, specifically your direct superior in this situation, seem to have done nothing yet. They seem to be you're sort of in your own space. You're all spread out, and keeping quiet. So at this point, as it comes back to your initiative here, your direct superior seems to be like waiting a moment, maybe considering these outsiders' statements. What are you doing?
I can't see, knowing where they would have hidden, I can't see my
You
leaders.
probably know where they all are. You probably can't necessarily like directly see them. You knowing being a member of this group, and trained as you are, you would know to expect. There are like a series of like bird calls and things like that can be used to communicate information, to to you guys and your sort of separate locations. But there has been nothing yet which would probably indicate to you that she is like thinking right now and hasn't like decided whether or not she's going to talk to these outsiders or whether or not she's going to give the order to like light them up.
Being that I am not the top dog in the situation, I'm going to my bow pulled back and wait a couple seconds and see if I hear any of those calls specifically to be told, because I don't want to overstep my bounds with my leaders.
All right.
But I am ready to fire at anyone that moves.
Okay. Alrighty. Walter and Alar, back to your initiative here. You guys you sort of made these separate calls. No more arrows have come out of the trees, but you don't hear anything yet. What are you guys doing?
Very quietly. I'm certain the others our attackers will hear it too, but quietly, in common, I say, "Do as they say. No moves. No spells. We came here to speak. We didn't come here to fight."
Okay. Walter, anything?
I am going to say in Elvish. I'm pretty much gonna like say it loudly on purpose, like that I can't believe someone would do this to this tree. I wish there was a way we could help.
Okay. Alrighty. You both make these statements. You guys continue to be as non-aggressive as possible. And a moment later, a figure emerges from the wood line. Brahm. It is a female wood elf. She is directly across from where you are. So now, like, we've sort of covered the 4 cardinal points of this circular space. Like, Brahm with Dimios and Harold are, like, kind of down here. You guys are sort of in the middle. You saw some arrows come from these sides, and now a figure has emerged into the opening, like, down from sort of the top of this space. She wears a set of garments clearly designed for flexibility, range of motion, ease of movement, and for moving quietly. It is all leather and like leathers and furs. You distinctly like see a good portion of the garments have appear to be made out of like deer skin, with a number of what at first you mistake for she walks out and at first she looks like a lady who is just like got a bunch of like loose foliage like stitched to her, but as she kind of steps out into the open, you actually see that it is a very expertly crafted like interwoven layers of like pieces of cloth and pieces of material of like different textures, all in like greens and browns and like some blacks, that just make like an extremely effective camouflage outfit. She is fairly
Fantasy ghillie suit.
Not quite as like extreme as a fantasy ghillie suit. It's not like a lump of grass like stands up and walks out. But in combination with the sort of like darkish, kind of like chestnut colored skin, and sort of dark brownish hair, and you see like a number of smudges of like almost like earth or dirt. When she was up in those trees and in that foliage, like she was extremely difficult to see. And she steps out and she has these kind of 2 large, luminous wood elfin eyes, and each of her ears come to a point. And she looks over the group of you in this clearing, and she goes, she makes this, she like puts two fingers to her lips, and she goes like, which Brittany, for your character in the woods, is essentially the sort of the signal of like hold, but at the ready. So essentially, she has told you, don't do anything yet, but if they try anything funny, like fill them full of arrows. She steps out of the clearing, and she looks at the two of you, who are in the clearing, and kind of across over to where Brahm and Dimios are. She folds her arms across her chest. You see, she has both a longbow and a short bow, like slung crossways over her chest. She has a quiver of arrows at her hip, as well as on the other hip she has like a pair of long daggers. She crosses her arms and she looks at you, and she says, in common, she says, "Who speaks for you? Which one of you is in charge?"
I'm gonna give a quick glance to Dimios, hoping to catch a little bit of communication of, do you want to speak with them or should I? And then I'm going to see Brahm do it, and I'm going to go,
yeah, you look over and you see Dimios doing the same thing. Dimios like took a half step forward, and then Brahm went, and he's like, he just like takes a half step back and goes. So Brahm, her like amber colored eyes sort of like fix on you. I am waiting. Do you speak?
Yeah. You asked which one of us speaks you wanted to speak to, and then you said nothing, so I was waiting for you.
She says, "Are there any more in your group besides the ones I see here?" She points to Walter and Alar. She says, "These two, the old man and the one hiding behind the tree there."
You mean in the immediate vicinity or in general?
She says, "Let's start with the immediate vicinity, and then in general would be good."
Immediate vicinity, it's just Tree Guy. And outside of immediate vicinity, we do have a caravan slightly a ways away, as we are traveling through the area.
What other business have you in these forests besides traveling, as you say?
Not much else. Though, our tree friend over here, possibly members of your clan met with him already and stole all of his stuff.
She says, "Bring him out. Step out, all of you. Let me get a look at you."
Hey, Craig, what?
Harold.
Harold Craigden.
It's
Alar.
Harold Bob Carl Kyle Cregland. Please get it right.
Alar is going to straighten up very slowly, hands up like this.
You guys kind of step out as Harold steps out and comes into the clearing. He like sort of is a little bit trying to like use like Brahm use you and Dimios to like stay slightly behind. But he comes out, and this elvish woman looks at him, and her eyes narrow, and she says, "I have seen your face before, yes." She looks at you with this like renewed sense of skepticism, and she says, "We had deemed you a harmless buffoon who stumbled into the wrong place and cut down one of our trees for firewood, but here you are back again at yet another site of desecration. I am thinking perhaps we were wrong." And he's like, oh, no, harmless buffoon, that's me, you got it, nothing up here, that was a stump, I didn't mean to say stump, not to insult your tree, can I, and he's like looking between you and Dimios, like, help!
Harold, just...
Okay, so first thing, he may look like an idiot, he may talk like an idiot, but don't let that fool you. He really is an idiot. Second of all, we just rolled up on this tree, and if you look at this tree was clearly not cut down as recently as us walking up here.
She moves forward a little bit, Alar, towards like where you and Walter are standing.
Other than having straightened up, Alar hasn't moved an inch.
She doesn't pay much mind to you. She just sort of comes up and she goes over and like inspects the tree. You guys see, though she is, sort of maintaining this like stoic, like hard expression as she deals with you. Her back is like very straight. You do see sort of this flicker of like distress passes over her face as she looks over this tree. And she looks back up and she says, what you say is true. This tree was not cut down recently. And yet here you all are. What business do you have coming this far into our woods?
Quite frankly, you're speaking for us.
Well, first of all, it's we just wanted to make you aware that we were here, so that we didn't manage to offend you by taking you by surprise. Also, a friend here is naked, and we were hoping that maybe you could give him his pants back or something.
Make a persuasion roll.
Okay. That's gonna be a dirty 20.
Okay. She considers you all for a few moments. And she puts both her hands to her mouth, and she goes like, which is indication, Brittany, for you and for those with you, indication to reveal yourselves, to show yourselves. So let's start, Brittany, with your character. As you step out of the woods into sight, what do these gentlemen see?
You see a female wood elf with reddish brown hair. It's mostly in braids, to keep it out of her face. She wears green dragon scale armor, some of it looking newer, or stitched newly, maybe indicating, it's been resized recently. And she has a brown hood attached to the back of that is up, covering the top of her head so that you could not see her reddish brown hair in the foliage. She, like her leader, also has the kind of dirt paint on her face, again to help conceal her in the treetops. And the only thing that is different from her is she does also have a vulture feather hanging down from behind her right ear. And she still has her bow ready. It's slightly lowered, but is not down completely, because she does not stand for people getting that close to her leader at this point.
Okay. In addition to this individual stepping out, about 10 more wood elves meld out of the trees, all surrounding you. Most of them are female. There are 3 males like within the group. Similarly, they have sort of lowered their bows a little bit, but are clearly, kind of still on edge. The individual that's been speaking to you guys turns, Brittany, to your character, and she says, "What do you think? Are they lying to us? Or are they truly here just by happenstance?"
I will take a minute to look at each of them. Kind of glazing over Alar. I recognize half-elf in him, and I'm kind of like, okay, we'll deal with you later. But look at Walter, and he's human. I'm not very interested. And then I look at Brahm, and there's a minute of just, you can see the dislike.
Okay.
And then I look at the rest of them, and I say to her, well, you know my feelings on people coming into our land. And this one, as you said, has already desecrated part of it. I am not necessarily willing to believe this is all an accident anymore. Only once? Okay. I just go quiet and
She nods.
step back.
She says, "Quite. And yet, something tells me there is an opportunity here.
Kind of, bow to her at that moment.
She says, she nods at, in Harold's direction. She says, You were very lucky to have been sent on your way with the mere confiscation of your beast of burden and your belongings as punishment for your trespassing. What made you think it was a good idea for you to return here?" And he kind of stammers. He points at Demios. He said maybe we could make friends with you and maybe you give me my shoes and my horse back. I promise I'm not. I didn't ever mean to desecrate nothing. I swear it. And she looks at Demios and says, "And you are much older than these others. It was your idea to come here to our woods?" Demios kind of bows very deferentially, and he says, "I am but a humble scholar and alchemist. We came across this poor fellow in the woods, and clearly it was apparent from his tale that he had caused you offense, though it was unintentional. I sought only to perhaps make amends or offer recompense for the wrong that was done to you and your people. We have no intention of harming you or overstaying our welcome any longer than you would have us in your forests." And she looks kind of at the group of you, and she says, "From which direction are you traveling?"
Alar will very, very, very slowly point with his thumb back. Our caravan is that way. We are traveling, and he gives directions down the directions they're headed down the caravan road. We are headed for Terra Libra.
You head for the Wizard City, then. From where?
Niveria? He's saying this in Elvish, by the way.
Okay. She's still speaking in Common to you. Her Common is pretty good. She, at this point, does switch back to Elvish, though, as she speaks it, Alar and Walter, you guys are able to follow the gist of what she says as she starts to address her people. But it's not similar to the runage. It's not straight Elvish. It's sort of this like weird polyglot of Elvish and something else that you are not familiar with.
So it's like we know Spanish and she's speaking Portuguese.
Yeah, or you know English and she's speaking deep Louisiana patois type of deal. Though, Brittany, you understand this, obviously, as this is sort of a tongue that is native to you. And she says to you, if they are being truthful about their point of origin and their destination, the timeline and the location of these desecrations does not match up. They are perhaps innocent of the crimes that we are seeking to resolve. The Fae are cross with us as it is that these desecrations continue in these woods. Perhaps where they have spurned us, we can use these outsiders. Perhaps they can uncover information where we have failed.
You see a very strong, urge to speak, and she bites it back. Again, it is a very much. You can tell that there is a slight temper. She wants to just snap back, but it's not going to be disrespectful in front of.
Sure, and you can she clearly notices this, and she sort of bows her head to you, and she says, "I understand your feelings on outsiders." And she kind of looks towards the half orc, and she says, "And I know your history. I also know that you are wise. You are not too quick to trust, and you are not too suspicious not to do what is right." She smiles a little and she says, "Which is unfortunate for you in this circumstance, as that does make you my most trusted ranger. If we are to enlist their help, I will not have them walking around our forests on their own. One of ours will need to go with them. It is a task I will lay on your shoulders."
I will sit there for a second, look at all of them again, kind of now lingering over Harold as he's still shivering, and I find it amusing, and look back at her, and in the same, dialect of Elvish, however we're terming this, I will tell her, "Whatever you wish of me, I will make sure it is done, and it is done with all the honor belonging to our land."
She nods. She turns back to you, and she says, to you guys, rather. And switching back to Common, she says, "My name is Veil Yun." She gestures to the elves around the forest. She says, "We are the rangers of the Nor Nandana village. These are our woods. I am choosing to believe that you are innocent of the crimes that are being committed on our lands. I am choosing to believe that your intentions, she points to Dimios, as you state them, are pure. We are, as it turns out, in a situation where, loath as I might be to accept it, outsiders such as yourselves may be able to help us. Do you intend to make good on your claims? Your offer of friendship, of desiring to make peace? If so, I will task you with something extremely delicate.
I'm gonna pull my hand out of my pocket and like raise my hand a little bit. I may be able, and I'll gesture towards like the fallen tree. I may be able to prevent further decay to this for a few days as an olive branch.
She kind of gives you a quizzical look. In
That
what way do
might-
you mean? The tree is dead, its spirit is gone, and the dryads that called it home have fled. What magics do you possess that you claim to be able to?
Thought perhaps it might be able to be righted and splinted and regrow in time, but in the meantime, before it can be righted, I may be able to use some magics designed to keep bodies fresh for long travels.
At the mention of dryads, Alar's eyes go a bit wide, and he glances down at the tree and then back up. And
Mechanically, I'm offering to
Oh yeah,
ritual cast gentle repose.
Yeah. The concept, you definitely see like this as you try to explain this concept of like I have magics that like keeps bodies from like decaying. This is like baffling to them, and there's sort of a mutter goes through the group, and the one that you've been speaking to, the one who introduced herself to you is Valyun. She says, I do not understand your kind's obsession with preservation of things that are dead, rather than the natural order of decaying and returning to the earth. No, the damage is already done to this tree and to this grove. If you are offering to help, I will have it in other ways. Your magics are not needed here.
Very well.
She kind of looks around and she says, we will speak more of this, but not here. Come now and we will bring you to one of our outposts. There we can talk comfortably.
I doubt that, but okay.
Why is everything hummus? I don't understand.
She sort of gestures to the elves on sort of either side of the clearing. She makes these two like sort of flicking gestures, and she goes like, and in unison, everybody except the other elf who you had heard speaking, they like meld back into the forest, and within moments like are visibly and audibly like non-existent anymore. They're gone. She says, come, our nearest outpost is no more than an hour's brisk pace from here. And she sort of turns on a heel and begins to walk off into the forest.
I will follow. slowly lowering my hands, but keeping them away from anything that's obviously a weapon.
Sure. So the group of you with Valyun and this as yet unnamed red-haired elf set off into the forest, and you guys kind of progress along. Dimios and Harold are having a little bit of difficulty, keeping pace, as Dimios is a little bit older, is maybe has not totally kept up with his cardio in his golden years, and Harold is of course barefoot.
As he's struggling, I can, if we have like a 10-minute break, I can like cast
shoes.
the disc. Cast the disc and just carry them with me. Unfortunately, I don't have shoes with me.
Yeah. When I see Dimios having trouble, I will slow my pace, and if he needs help getting over something, I'll.
He definitely takes your aid a couple of times. Really, anything that involves like either just like climbing over or under something, or like anything where he has to use like his hands and his one crappy hand, he like struggles a little bit. The forest is pretty dense. You sort of watch as these two elves basically just flow like water through the underbrush of this forest, where you guys are sort of like your clothes get snagged on brambles, or you have to like sort of work your way around an obstacle. These elves just sort of seem to be like taking the most direct path, a little bit by like kind of following their sort of path that they take. You're able to ignore the worst of the tough going through this forest. And occasionally, as you guys are traveling, you catch like out of the corner of your eye, you catch sight of like a cloaked figure like moving like up in the canopy near you. As you definitely seem to be traveling with a group of these elves, not just the two that are making themselves known to you. And eventually, you do come to a decently sized oak tree that is, at first glance, just sort of looks like it's like very interestingly shaped, but as you sort of get a look at it closer, and more so as these two elves like approach it and like begin to ascend, you realize that what you first mistook for just sort of like a twisted, gnarled, knotted, big solid trunk to this tree is actually grown in such a way that it makes it possible to, like in a spiraled fashion, walk up and around and up into the canopy of this tree. And as you guys do this, you find yourselves about 60 feet off the ground, and it's tough to call it a structure, but like this tree itself seems to have grown the canopy in such a way that has created like an enclosed space, sort of sitting in like the bowl of the top of this tree's trunk. There is a fairly comfortable sized chamber here, and you see in this chamber, the interior of it has actually grown in such a way that forms like places to sit, places where you would like sit at a table. There are hides and cloth, like draperies and cushions and things that have been put up here to make the space like comfortable to like hang out in. But you are in what amounts to like an extremely luxurious treehouse that seems to have been grown out of this tree itself. So these two elves lead you up into this space. They sort of gesture for you guys to like make yourselves comfortable where you will. You can kind of see out of the sort of natural openings between bits of wood that form windows. You can see some of the other elves that had been in that clearing, like taking up positions in various places throughout this tree. And you can see that there are like portions of branches that they like widen and flatten and make sort of like scooped shapes occasionally, like at various places around the canopy, which form these like perfectly comfortable places for somebody to like perch themselves and sit. As you guys kind of make yourselves comfortable, the leader of these elves here offers you all drink, food. There's some food. There's like some kind of like hard breads, cheeses, fruit. No meat. They have like clean water. They have a what appears to be like a fermented like fruit wine that they have. She in what is like pretty evidently like a sort of a variant of like the custom of hospitality, like makes an offer of food and drink to you guys, thus sort of establishing the contract of like, we intend you no harm while you are like under the protection of our roof. And once all of that is kind of out of the way and you guys are sitting comfortably, she says, our people have lived here in these forests since before the times of our oldest tellings of our history. We are the guardians of this place. We are its caretakers, and we are responsible for the well-being of the forest and its protection from the desecration of outsiders who would clear-cut the land and disrupt the ancient spirits that call this place home. Our people are servants is not the right word, but we are beholden to the Fae, who call the dark places of this wood their home. We maintain the peace and order. We protect the sacred groves. And in turn, they grant us bountiful harvests, good weather, and prosperity. Someone has been coming into these lands and desecrating the Dryad's shrine trees, like the one you were looking at when we came across you. The one that you have seen is the 5th tree of its kind to have been cut down in the last 4 moons. The Fae are furious with us, as we are failing in our duty to protect these forests. We have been unable to track the culprits. Whoever they are, they seem expert at eluding our patrols, at dodging our rangers, and hiding their tracks so as not to be discovered. We don't know what purpose they have in causing these desecrations, but the result will be disastrous for the Nor Nadana tribe. If the Fae cannot be placated, their wrath will be extreme. She sort of looks at you. She says, the Fae denizens with whom our people have long held a companionable relationship avoid us, refuse to speak with us, or outright drive us away when we make attempts to reach them. They know these woods better than any mortal possibly could, and they may hold a key to helping to put a stop to this. If they would only talk to us, we could do more than we are currently doing, but they are angry. And the Fae are strange creatures when angered. It is for this reason, and this reason alone, that I am willing to give all of you the benefit of the doubt and ask for your aid. As outsiders, there is a chance that you can perhaps make contact with the Fae of this forest and ask them for information that might lead to discovering whoever is cutting down the Dryad's sacred trees. Is this a task you would be willing to undertake?
Quick glance among the others to see if if there's any obvious signs of no, I do not want to do this. If there isn't, then Aylmer will say, yes. Yes, we're willing to do this to try and help you.
She nods. She says, one of my own will accompany you, as much for your own protection as for that of the forest. She can guide you and offer assistance where possible. She is among my best rangers, so if it comes to a fight, she will hold her own.
Anybody less racist?
She kind of looks you over. She says she bears scars of the past. It will not affect her competency. She sort of turns, Brittany, she turns to your character. She says, I still believe your best bet, if this group can make connection where we have failed, is to find either the Dryads or the Pixies. If you can make contact with either of them in the wood, they might be persuaded to say something. They often know what goes on among the more powerful Fae. They're probably your best bet to start. She sort of nods in their direction. She's speaking in that sort of elvish polyglot at this point. She says, they can decide with your guidance which group they think is the best to pursue, but I would start there. Find the Dryads or find the Pixies and see if you can get any information from them. Perhaps they can point you in the direction of whoever's been cutting down these trees where we have been stuck for all of this time.
I will just nod again at her in deference and step a little bit more towards the group again. And then I look at Brahm and I say, my hatred for a part of you is much less than my love for my land. As long as you are not deceiving me or a threat to this land, we will get along fine.
All right. But I'm watching you.
Likewise.
She says, very well. If they need a place to return to rest and recuperate during their time here, she gestures to the space that you're in. She says, I will make outpost Kisfeon available to them. You may bring them back here if need be.
Excuse me 1 second.
Sure. She says, I don't need to tell you that the village is off limits to them. Take them no closer than here at the outpost.
Of course.
She switches back to common and she says to you, then at this point I will take my leave of you, and I will leave my compatriot to assist you on your journey. This outpost is yours to utilize while you are guests in our forest. If you have need of myself or others of our village, well, we'll find you. She sort of looks at you all. She says, have you any other questions from me before I leave you?
If we find the people responsible or beings responsible for this, do you stake claim to their equipment if they are travelers? How would you like us to deal with anything we find?
She says, if you find the ones responsible for this, act at your discretion on how best to drive them from this place. If you wish to respect our traditions, she gestures towards the red-haired elf. She says, you have an expert that you can ask. Any beasts of burden or animals kept prisoner in their encampment or whatever it is they have are to be released into the wild. Their equipment of metal and dead wood is of no interest to us.
Very well. And Miss Red?
I saw your mouth move, but it didn't come through.
Yeah, we didn't hear your name.
All of everything muted on me for a second. So I was saying, Miss.
No, we heard you. We didn't hear Brittany
Okay.
say her
Yeah.
name.
Hear me.
Oh, gotcha.
Minimir.
Min-maxer, got it.
I'll answer to Min if you can't handle that.
No, Minimir is easy enough.
Good.
I think I broke Brahm.
That's my reaction to your mini-maxer.
So at this point, the woman you've been speaking to, Valyun, she kind of nods. She says, very well then, Minamir, I leave them in your care. I trust you will keep them from getting themselves into too much trouble while they're in our forests. She says, if you have need of us, you need only send word through the trees. And she kind of like puts a kind of a paternal hand on your shoulder, and she sort of says like, I trust that you will succeed in this task. And she sort of, with kind of a nod of farewell, she backs out of this outpost. And you guys kind of hear the slight like shuffling of a number of these wood elves sort of like leaving the vicinity and moving off. And the group of you are left here in what she referred to as Outpost Kisfion, with your new sort of wood elven chaperone / guide, Harold Craigland and Dimios.
No. Minimax.
Christ, Jason.
I'm so
First
sorry.
time, the first time, somebody who almost put arrows through us. I expect that from Brahm.
Yeah.
Visibility. No, Minimar, if
Not
you
gonna
may lead to, forgive me for eavesdropping, but it sounded like the words she was saying were a lot similar to Dryad and Pixie.
Yes, we are going to go a little deeper into the forest and look for any of the dryads or pixies that may be willing to speak with us. As she said, they are displeased lately, so we're hoping some potential new allies may draw their curiosity and give them the opportunity to speak.
Arcana check. What do I know about dryads and what do I know about pixies?
I'm fairly certain we've ran into a dryad before.
That would be a 23.
Okay, you guys, this game. Jason, you guys ran into a dryad?
I don't remember running into it.
I might be thinking of the harpy shenanigans.
Yeah.
We were in the woods.
Yeah, as far as I recall, there have not been any dryads thus far in this game. This
Okay,
would be your first Fey encounter.
Can I make a history check to see if I recall any stories from up north?
Yeah.
Doot. 18 for me. So
Okay.
I got 23 on.
So between those two rolls, what you guys know is that dryads and pixies are both creatures of the Fae. Dryads generally are associated with the summer court, whereas pixies are sort of neutral. They're not neither dryads or like low-level dryads or pixies are particularly like powerful Fae. Pixies especially are just sort of like little guys that do their best not to like piss off anything stronger than them. Walter, you know stories, probably not really much in terms of dryads from that far north, but pixies, everybody knows some stories about pixies. They are famous for being like extremely shy but extremely mischievous. Pixies are often blamed when you're traveling and the bottom tears out of your pack and all your stuff falls out on the trail because the stitching on the bottom of your pack broke or wore out. That's the type of thing that someone might say, oh, the pixies got to you, or you misplace your wood cutting hatchet and you can't find it and you're left without it in the woods. Oh, the pixies took it. They are famous for being like mischievous little forest dwellers that love to sort of play pranks on hapless travelers through the places where they dwell.
I imagine he would have told his kids some like bedtime stories involving pixies. Like,
yeah, there's
as kind of like a don't go into the woods late at night because pixies might like wander you off somewhere or something like that.
Yeah, I mean pixie stories are a little there's probably it's less like probably less cautionary tales towards pixie in terms of like don't wander into the wood stories. There's definitely fey creatures that are like more commonly associated in like folklore with things that will like snatch you up or whatever. Pixies are more like just associated with like harmless prankage and shenanigans.
Gotcha. Okay.
Alar, you know, basically the same thing with pixies. You have a little bit more knowledge about dryads just based on sort of the terrain, the biome of your sort of home turf is a little further south, where there is more like densely populated wooded areas. Dryads are fey creatures that are fabled to be essentially like almost like living trees themselves, and they live deep in the woods, and they are known to be like denizens and protectors of like sacred groves. They are extremely reclusive and generally like don't want to be interfered with or interact with like mortals. The sort of the standard wisdom though is if you like accidentally wander into like a domain that the dryads call home, and you start like cutting down trees and stuff like that, boy, watch out, because they get very aggressive. And that's sort of the general knowledge you guys know about these two creatures.
I would say that dryads might be more likely to give us useful information and not make off with half our stuff, but finding them is probably going to be more difficult.
Might be able to bribe the pixies. Maybe not. He starts to like secure his pockets a little bit more. Just
Demios offers up. He says, yes, from my own research over the years, I would say that is probably an astute guess. The dryad, if you can find them, might be able to offer you more direct information, whereas the information you gain from a pixie, should you track one down, is going to be colored by their unique nature, though pixies are much more easily bought off, and besides their penchant for harmless pranks, it is unlikely, should you offer them something that they want, as simplistic as information that they can offer you might be, it will be accurate. Pixies will not tell you a mistruth. So, it kind of says it's a bit of a shame that Miss Nula is not traveling with us. They are extremely fond of sugary treats.
Of course they are. Miss Min, this is your home. These are people that you may have run into previously. What is your suggestion?
I suggest we find the nearest group of pixies first. They will at least be able to tell us if any of the dryads have been lately. I know of a couple places nearby, but some of them are a bit more mischievous than others, so be wary of what you say and where you step.
Fair enough.
And they will help us.
Aylar's going to reach into some pockets, break out some rags. All right, this is definitely not a replacement for actual shoes, but he's going to, help Harold bind up his feet a bit.
He does so gratefully. And as you guys are kind of making these plans, he says, would it be terribly unacceptable if I just sort of, held down the fort here at this lovely, safe tree. I don't know what all about going off into the woods and tracking down fays and everything else. I certainly am not any use in a fight.
Look at him and kind of like just cock my head to the side and say, "You want me to leave you alone in my woods in one of our
With
outposts?"
Dimios.
And then when he says that, I'll look at Dimios and say, "Are you staying with him or are you coming with us?"
Dimios sort of puts up a couple of hands in this sort of like gesture of surrender, and he says, "I will do whatever it is that you would be most comfortable with. If you would like me to stay and keep an eye on our friend here and maintain position here in this outpost, I give you my word that it will be over my dead body that either of us will leave here and disturb the woods. If you would feel more comfortable, then I will happily drag Mr. Krugland along by his ear to accompany all of us in the rest of our journeys. You, as my friend Brom might say, you the boss, lady."
I
will-
would never say that and have never said that.
I'm gonna pull out one of my hot peppers from the southern area, and I'll hand it to Dimios carefully and say, if he acts up, give him this, make him eat it.
His kind of like, all right.
Don't eat it.
Good
It's
thing he's not
edible.
wearing pants.
He is wearing
Oh.
pants. I don't know where we made this decision that like this guy's balls have been out this whole time. They took his shoes. They didn't like send him bare ass off into the wilderness.
I thought they took his clothes and he's just been wearing.
No, I think chat decided he
undergarment.
wasn't wearing pants. At some point
Yeah,
during
I
this
was gonna ask
night,
about that.
it was not ever canonically established that Harold Craiglin's like dick was waving around during this entire situation.
Well,
This is Delve Requisite and
It
welcome to
is
Jackass.
So now all of a sudden we need the mature tag on our
He does.
our string.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I assume
just
he was
gonna- I'm just
walking
gonna
around
give-
in like undergarments.
no, he's
No,
supposed to. He just has his sort of like base like trousers and shirt, and his pack and his horse and his shoes got taken. They didn't like strip him naked, give him like a leaf, and then send him out.
I will.
Scythian pleads the
Oh,
fifth. He's he is clothed, and he's like, he doesn't seem to super want to go. Demios is like, I'll just do whatever you tell me. I'll stay here with him if you'd like.
I will. After just being amused slightly at the boss lady thing, I will
Okay.
let out a quick little whistle and see if I get a responding whistle from any of my compatriots nearby.
Okay. Yeah, you do. You listen. You kind of whistle out, and a moment later, you hear like,
And I'll just kind of. I'm not gonna whistle into this. Sorry, guys. And just kind of like the sign for you stay here and keep an eye, and shoot if they move or do anything wrong.
you just get sort of the short trill of affirmative, like, yeah.
And I'll look at the others and say, well, they're being watched, so now I feel a bit better about leading you on.
Alrighty. I did just realize that this little thing that I play with sometimes while we're talking is the exact color that it gets chroma keyed out on my green screen. So I can make it look like I have a hole in my hand.
Oh my god,
Oh no. Oh, that's
that's creepy.
He has no eyes.
They are too big. I can't make them stay, but
You need to work on that.
The eyeless DM.
Oh.
Sees all.
No.
Oh yes.
oh
Oh God.
man. Okay,
Okay.
so
oh god. You have
Ding.
consumed the Ignean Empire.
yeah,
Nobody will miss it.
All right.
So,
Then we will. Then
Dimios and Harold will stay behind then?
Yep.
Alrighty. Then, as you guys set off, following Minimir's guidance to try and go track down some pixies, we will take a quick break. So, for those of you sticking with us thus far into tonight's episode, insinuating that my NPCs have no pants, and otherwise being perfectly enjoyable in chat. Thank you for sticking with us. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take about a 5-minute break. Let everybody refill their drinks, stretch their legs, and we've got about 1 more hour of show tonight to complete before we wrap things up. So, quick again, thank you to our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle! Little Dragon! CBC in chat. If you want to get a link to either of those websites, go and buy stuff from them because they're great. And we will be back in just a couple minutes. Stick around. Hey everybody, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us over the break. We have returned. Drinks refilled, bladders emptied, legs stretched, ready to roll.
Yep, we're back for another fun game of 5e Dungeons & Dragons.
I literally, right before we went live, I was like, hey, people in chat can have their opinions, just don't worry about it. Let them be be what they want to. We're just here to play games. And I was like, don't have to engage. The first thing he did was continue to fight. Hey man,
redirect those energies at the dryads.
Redirect those energies at
Definitely don't direct.
whoever's fighting bad guys, whoever's cutting down trees. As you guys are on your way through the forest, hunting for some pixies. So I am just gonna sit back and let you guys tell me what you're doing. What's your plans? How are you gonna find these pixies? How are you gonna lure them out? And how are you gonna deal with my creepy
not yet. As far as finding them, we will defer to our guide and our chaperone, since she said that she had a idea of where we might start looking for pixies. As far as bribes, Alar is going through every pocket and pouch that he has. He's looking for a spare cookie or something that's unusual or shiny, or just, various bibs and bobs that he's picked up over time to have something available to offer.
Okay.
I have 3 unique and separate heads in my inventory.
You've kept those heads?
No. They're all gone. But I'm just scrolling through my inventory trying to find something that's relevant. It's
I was like, have we been walking? Have we just not commented on head stink that's coming off of Walter's bag for months? Oh, okay.
One of them was donated to the wizards. One of them was donated. One of them was buried as deep as I could bury it, and the other one was thrown into a river. So it's fine. I do not have any real snacks on me. I have hot peppers. I have
that might start the pixies making war with us specifically, and I don't know.
That is a problem for future us, not current us.
Don't sabotage future us.
Hey Walter, that's real stupid what you just said right there.
See, future us will want to kick current us's rear ends.
I already want to kick your ass, Walter, and we're in the present.
So let's not do that.
Okay. Yes. So, do you have any suggestions for snacks? Maybe honey?
I just kind of look at them and touch kind of subtly one of the satchels on my belt and say, "The forest without treats." And I just kind of nod at him and then just start walking to where I know I've run into pixies recently.
All right.
You know, having grown up and everything, I know where they tend to hang out.
Okay.
She definitely just said like the forest will provide treats, right?
There was a little bit of mic cuttage. I assumed it was
Okay.
something akin of never go into the forest without having treats.
Yes, always have treats in the forest.
Yeah. Alar is just okay. Let's follow the ranger, and
Alrighty.
I'll just
probably
alchemy jar.
hitting every single bramble along the way. You know, she's moving smoothly through it. Just
I'll
he's very much a
Also-
city elf.
Alright.
look at him kind of surprised that he doesn't know how to walk through the forest, and then just kind of slow my pace just a little, and try to point out the bigger issues to the trail of them behind me. Just because they have to help us, I don't want any twisted ankles on the way.
Sure. Alrighty. I feel like part of the ranger's repertoire might be that as like a part of your class like features, you and like people with you ignore difficult terrain as you're like traveling.
That is
Unless-
I
Yeah.
think it's at least one or two ranger types have that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, you sort of like again by following behind you, like you guys are able to like make a little bit better pace than you would otherwise. You travel for another 20-30 minutes kind of through this forest. It is like a little past midday at this point, as you guys have sort of been adventuring around these woods here, and eventually you come upon an open area where there is a break in the trees, and the space that has been exposed to the open sky is about the size of a football field, or a high fantasy football field. Mostly level, but a little bit sort of uneven in places. But is blanketed in tall like native grasses and brightly colored wildflowers growing in these like big clumps and patches all throughout the space. And Minamir, you know that places like these are good spots for trying to track down a pixie for a chat if you ever need one.
I will look at the group and say, well, this is as good of a chance as any. Please be very careful of where you step and what you say, though. They're a little picky. And I'll step out further into the clearing and open the little snack pouch, as it were,
Okay.
and take out, a couple pieces and kind of like break them up and put them in front of me, and then step back enough to kind of give the chance for
Okay.
them to come forward.
So what are the rest of you guys doing?
Watching her feed the ducks.
Aha! I knew I had some of these. Alar is going to reach into a pocket. He's going to pull out a couple of marbles. I imagine one of them might be somewhat shiny. He's going to carefully step out and put 3 of them in a somewhat uneven line, and then step back and sit down.
Okay. Anybody else? Brommer, Walter, are you guys doing anything?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I'm just gonna
Just watching
watch
the
it prepare.
fairy baiting.
Okay.
Actually, I can mage hand and like float one of the like snacks out, and then just have it like 20 or 30 feet into the clearing.
Wait,
just kinda float.
does music attract fairies?
Pixies?
Pixies? Whatever?
Maybe a nice sea shanty.
A sea shanty.
I'm asking the expert here who brought snacks.
Or look at the DM and say, what are the pixies in this world like?
You tell me. You tell me what your ideas are. I'm here to yes-end your ideas. At this point, I'm just thankful that you guys didn't go off on like a whole side quest to try and track down peeps.
No, peeps aren't native to this area. I'm not
so
gonna.
Wanted
peeps,
to avoid
peeps are
that.
native.
No,
Peeps
we-
are
we
native to
will-
Honor End.
We will find the scroll of polymorph into Peep eventually.
One day. Just stand back and wait. And
Oh,
Brom, did you
maybe-
ask that question out
Yes.
loud, or was that a DM question?
No, I asked it to you. Out loud.
I'll look at him and I'll say, "You can go ahead. I don't think they particularly hate or love it, but if it's good, you might get a couple more to come join the party."
Would a minor light show help with that?
We're not throwing a rave, Walter.
I don't know.
If you
Maybe
It's a
these
little
pixies like to party. You never know until you try.
Maybe pixies are really
Yeah,
into EDM.
Yeah.
Quick, Walter, you have to spell
the lights
Skrillex.
won't. The lights won't affect it.
Walter casts
Good
dubstep.
Yes, thaumaturgy
Min just
certainly sounds like.
leaves.
Can my sickening radiance have an audio component?
No. Probably not the best spell choice.
No.
Walter
I mean-
kills 100 pixies.
And then Min kills Walter.
Aelor just waits for death at this point.
Wouldn't be the first time I died. It's fine. All right. So I guess I'll do some dancing lights and I'll see if I can
Okay.
put a little like rave show on for
Alrighty.
Brahms shanty or whatever
Alright.
he's doing.
Brom.
I'm gonna sit
what are
down
you
with
playing?
Bianca and play some sweet lo-fi hip hop pixie beats.
Okay.
I'm gonna make sure the dancing lights hues are nice, like cool colors, like blues and greens and maybe some yellows.
Okay. So you guys have put out snacks. You guys have put out marbles. You guys are making some fun like light show. You've put on like Spotify cool summertime tune Pixie edition. And Brom is
Pixie music to snack to.
yeah. Brom, you're sitting there. You're kind of playing away on the bandor as you do. Let's have all of you make a persuasion check. A group persuasion.
Do you want me to also make a performance check?
Yeah. How about
Can we make it a performance check?
how about I was gonna say, how about Alar and Minimir make a persuasion, and you two make a performance based on these specific things that you are doing.
My persuasion is 18.
Okay, we have an 18.
Oh, I have an 18 as well.
18.
My performance
Walter.
is a 22,
That's 22.
Nice.
All right, Brom, what do you got?
30.
That would be a natural 20, making it a 27.
Okay.
Yes.
You guys throw the best goddamn pixie rager that anybody has ever seen or written about. They will tell stories about like.
If only we
what,
had a
like,
bard to record this.
This is like the most. Like, you are positive that like pixies are gonna vibe so hard. And after a pretty short amount of time of you put out your snacks, you put out your marbles, you're playing your tunes, Walter's. I assume in my heart of hearts, Walter is like sort of off to the side, away from the rest of the group, and he has like his dancing lights is like two glow sticks, and he's like doing this.
Sir,
He's
you
like,
don't even have to imagine that because you gave me something for that.
Well, I did. What did I give you?
I have the bottled light.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Oh, the lantern.
Good lord.
Swinging the
No,
lantern.
I don't have the lantern. I want the lantern. I have the
Oh.
bottled light.
He does have
Which
a
is-
bottled light. So Walter is objectively the only thing missing is like cat earmuffs and a pacifier, as Walter is just like going to town with his dancing lights.
There we go.
And
Oh,
Brom,
no,
you're just like the music takes you as you are just like you have honed in on. You don't know how you know this, but you're like, this is like pixies are really into like Jason Mraz, so you just start like, you're just wailing
And,
away
on
on the
top
band
of-
door.
On top of everything else, I will use the band door to cast Fairy Fire.
Okay. So now everything is double illumination. So you guys are like a pixie rager has developed. And
I can only imagine there's probably a few elves that were keeping a distance and watching them like, what the hell are they doing?
we get a
doing?
wide shot of like the overview of the forest like from the sky, and it's like this just sea of green, and then there's just like this one spot of like coming from the forest. Before too long, you guys begin to hear. You don't see anything, but you start to hear like. You hear all these like little tiny voices just from out of sight all around this this clearing. Everybody give me a perception check.
Is that with advantage? Because some of them are probably glowing now.
Yeah, I would say so.
Dirty 20?
20,
Okay.
22.
Is it with advantage?
Yeah, go ahead with advantage, is fine.
Oh, okay.
There are definitely pixies somewhere in the vicinity that Brahm has just like...
I got a 16.
Okay.
I mean, 18.
Alright, so with that roll, you guys begin to see, as like some pixies begin to emerge. They are, a lot of them appear to be invisible currently, but you do see like sort of these tiny little like luminescent outlines, like hiding in little like tufts of flowers, or like at the sides of this clearing, like in trees. You kind of start to spot like motion as very cautiously, but like very excitedly. You see these little forms begin to like kind of move and appear, and you start to see them. And you spot your first pixie, like for real, as it seems like a more bold pixie, comes like whizzing out from within this like tall tuft of native grass. They are only about yay big. So they're about 6 inches in height. They have these two translucent, like insectoid wings, which as they zip around are like fluttering very, very quickly, very rapidly. And as they move, everywhere they move, as they dart around, there's this sort of little like glittery sprinkle of like rainbow color behind them. They pause briefly like near you guys to like look at you, and for all intents and purposes it just looks like a very, very tiny, like slightly elven featured individual. You would have a very difficult time discerning, like assigning like a male or female gender to this creature. It wears sort of a nondescript kind of like toga-esque covering. It has its features are very like androgynous. They are kind of delicate and almost like childlike, with these big like glistening eyes. And before long, you see more of these pixies begin to emerge, as they grow a little bolder and a little braver. Some of them come down, and like kind of start investigating around the snacks that Minamir has put out. Several of them take interest in these in Alar's marbles. Brahm, very shortly, you have like Brahm is like before too long is like almost encircled by this like cloud of several dozen pixies, just like kind of like whizzing around him, making this like nebulous atomic cloud of pixie electrons surrounding him as he continues to play. And within a few minutes of sort of starting your pixie party, there's probably a good like 40 or 50 of these little things like zipping around in this meadow. one of them, that one that you saw emerge first, sort of the most brave of the bunch that allowed itself to be shown to you, kind of like flies up kind of in your guys' direction, and he sort of looks at all of you, and it says, it kind of goes like,
You threw all this for us?
Yep.
Yes, we did.
Wow!
yeah, and he kind of narrows his eyes, and he says like,
Are you? That's the voice I wanted. I couldn't get there, but I made
Oh
it.
god, it's haunted!
Wow, it's Pixie voice. Okay, it took me a second.
Okay, we're gonna go into Discord. I'm gonna turn the volume down on Matt.
It flutters up to you and it says, oh, is this all for us? It gets very suspicious. And it says, what's the catch? Gifts for free? Are you sure?
Not necessarily for free, but we just ask for information in return.
We just
The-
need a little help.
the pixie goes,
Everybody? Stop!
and all of the pixies come to a halt. And they kind of look, and he says,
Okay. What do you want to know?
Need to know where the dryads have been lately. We're trying to help protect the forest better, and my companions here are eager to help. We threw this party hoping you would come and enjoy yourselves and help us find what we need in order to keep protecting the forest and to hopefully keep throwing pixie parties.
Walter is
An even bigger
absolutely
one if
still
you give us
dancing in the side.
information.
what was that, Aylar?
We'll throw an even bigger party if you give us information that leads us towards the dryads.
This sort of like buzz goes through all the pixies, like, and the one in the lead says,
Well, that's it. No other catch. Pixies tell you what we know, and more pixie parties. You guys got better snacks floating around here.
We can certainly
I
come
will,
up with something better.
I'll open the satchel and just kind of open it, showing that there are a lot more things in there. But
Okay.
I gave him I put out the cookies and things.
okay. So it
Like the
says,
Okay, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Pixies, party!
and all of the pixies like go back to what they were doing. They descend like a swarm of locusts onto like the treats that you have put out, and you just see them like ripping into this, and they're like shuffling little bits of like foods and stuff into their tiny little faces. Several of them it takes like a couple of them, two of them like lift up these marbles, and they're like flying around with these marbles, and they're fighting over them, and otherwise just like going bananas, jamming out to the music, flittering around. They kind of like add their own version of the light show to what Walter's already doing, with their sort of like pixie glitters that they're able to do. And after a little while, that one that had sort of spoken to you does seem to kind of like they're all like very much like hyped up toddlers, as like they don't seem to have a great attention span, as they just kind of go from one thing to the other. But eventually that one that you were speaking to, or at least you're pretty sure it's the one you were speaking to, it's a little hard to like tell the difference between them. And that pixie kind of like flies back up to you, and it says,
Oh, you wanted to know some stuff?
Yes. We need to find the dryads of the forest. We're hoping to use their information to find those that are damaging it. You know, you can't have any more parties if there's no forest.
Ooh, you guys is looking for the people who's cutting down all the trees?
We
Yes.
are.
That's bad business. Very bad business.
We're looking to put a stop to it.
That's pretty good. Pretty good. Well, you came to the right place.
And it sort of like puffs its chest up with pride. Says,
Nobody sees more in the forest than pixies. Nobody.
Have you seen those who have cut
that's
down
why
the
we're
forest?
asking.
He says,
Well, we've seen them once and twice.
Are they human?
They look like you guys. Big.
Big. He points at Brom. Green?
No. We're
More
like
like
you.
me?
We're like you guys.
and it sort of points at you and Walter.
Okay. And Alar tucks aside his hair to show off ears. Pointed ears? Round ears?
He says,
Maybe some of both. We don't stick around too much when people's come around. Pixies is really pretty little. We don't like to get into trouble. We try to hide.
That's fine, but you've got sharp eyes. Any symbols on their clothes?
kind of shakes his head.
I don't think so.
Do they do magic?
Magic.
Kind of, it's like,
Is it magic when they take
and he mimes like swinging an axe. He says,
is that magic?
No, magic is more like he's gonna glance over at Minimir. I'm going to cast a spell. It is a harmless spell, and he's going to make a minor illusion, and poof, there's an exact duplicate of that pixie.
you poof, do this. He goes,
Hey, who's this guy? You want trouble, buddy?
and he like puts his little dukes up.
Oh, and it vanishes. Something like that.
Oh, magic! That's pretty good trick, mister. He says, no, they mostly just come and, chop 'em those trees down. That's all we ever saw.
Do they seem to vanish immediately afterward? Like one moment they're there, the next moment perhaps they're gone in a flash?
No, we hear them leave, but we don't follow. Bad news for us.
So they're not using magic to, at least they're not using teleportation magic to travel. Okay, that's good. That's good. That means they're going to be easier to track, maybe. Have you ever followed them toward a camp?
He goes,
Hang on.
and he like flutters off, and he comes back with two other pixies, and the three of them kind of like huddle together. And you see them like,
Oh, yeah, we're gonna kill the camp.
and then they like all in unison. They all three like look back to you, and he says, kind of the main one that you've been talking to is,
We don't know anything about any of their camps, but we maybe know what directions they come from.
That's a start.
Are
Can
there
you
any
tell us?
dryads between here and there?
yeah. He says,
Tough to say. Dryads is pretty mad. Somebody chopping down all their trees and stuff, you know. This is hard to talk to them right now. They're sad.
Yeah, well, losing a home is always going to make somebody angry and sad. What direction are those tree choppers coming from?
He goes, and then he like and points
That way.
and he points you sort of like mostly west and like a little bit south.
You have any major features, cave, someplace that might be a good hiding spot in that area, Minimir?
Couple. Not great, but looking at.
Are there any rival clans in this area?
You would know that there are a few other
Yes.
there are a few other like groups of wood elves that sort of live in this area, but rival clans is not sort of the thing for them. You are sort of the groups around this area are broken into like villages with like several family groups within them, but there are more or less the wood elves pretty much consider themselves just like one community. So there are some other areas throughout this large chunk of forest where like other groups of wood elves do have their homes and stuff like that. But it's not like you guys are like the the Hidden Leaf Village and then the hidden the Hidden Sand Village or whatever is nearby that wants to like beat you up and take your toys.
I was thinking more Hatfield and McCoy's, but yes. We can weave it up today.
We can weave it up.
Yeah. Okay, I guess let's just head off to where they said that they keep coming from.
When was the last time you saw these tree cutters? How many nights?
He's like looking at the sky. Says,
Sun right away and came up. This many times.
and he holds up like both of his hands wide outstretched. But you see, he only has 4 fingers on each hand. So he's got 8 little fingers up. And he's like, and he like adds like a big toe to it. He says,
The smelly.
Okay, a 10-day ago. That's not great, but that's probably that would probably be about when that last tree was cut.
Oh.
So we start back there. We head in that direction.
Get hurt.
If we're getting ready to go, I am not going to leave the Pixies without a little bit of extra snacks, an extra thank you, and when we've been talking to, I'll say, when this is over, we'll have another big party, okay?
he kind of nods enthusiastically. You look around, you see a lot of the Pixies seem to have like tuckered themselves out at this point. There's a bunch of them like. Brahm has this sort of like loose circle around him of just like Pixies that are kind of like on the ground, that are just like sleeping as they have like exhausted themselves and fallen asleep dancing to his music.
You're gonna say like signing tiny little autograph books.
There's probably not. They probably don't have the concept of like signing autograph books. But I mean, maybe some Pixie undergarments were thrown your way at some point. But no, there are a lot of Pixies are just sort of like have wiped themselves out. A couple of them near where like you had put the snacks are like sitting on top of like tufts of like flowers and stuff. They have these big like over full bellies that they ate a bunch of food, and
Alar will reach into a pocket. He'll break out one of the large shooter marbles, he'll set it down right in front of the pixie he's been talking to. I have another one for your next party, but thank you for the information.
It sort of like grabs it up. And then quickly like tucks it under one arm, and it kind of looks over you and says,
You guys is good to pixies.
kind of like looks around. He says,
Pixies see everything. Pixies know everything in the forest. Nobody ever pays attention to us because we're so little, so we see lots of stuff. And if we see anything good, we'll let you know. You keep bringing those snacks and we'll keep helping you out.
he kind of like jams a thumb at its own chest, and it says like,
You just ask for dandelion.
Dandelion it is. I'm
Yeah.
Alar.
the other two pixies that had like come over, sort of like buzz up.
I'm Dandelion, this is Periwinkle, and this is Parsley. We'll keep an eyes out for you, and if there's anything clever we learn, we'll let you guys know.
Thank you.
What was the third pixie's name? Periwinkle
It is
and...
Dandelion, Periwinkle, and Parsley are the three like main
That's what I thought.
pixies that have introduced themselves to you.
Good. Okay.
So the three of them kind of like Dandelion like shows this marble to the other two pixies, and they adequately like ooh, over it, and in kind of dribs and drabs, the pixies sort of start to like flitter off back into the woods.
Okay, so good news. At least as far as that goes, they don't use magic, so there's a possibility that they aren't magic users. Definite advantage for us, because we are magic users. We also have someone that knows this forest better than anybody could hope. Now we just have to find them.
I'll look at everybody and just say, are you all ready to keep going?
Walter is
Yep.
still raving.
Well,
Uh, yeah, no.
I'll just look at him a little oddly. I look
Yeah,
at
no,
Brom and I
let's,
say,
let's go.
I look at Brom and I say, good job with the music. You ready to leave your fans for now?
Yep, lead the way, minivan.
see, that I expected. What? Wait, what is a minivan? You know what? Never mind.
It's like a smaller caravan.
It's a guy named Van, and he's real tiny. He's real short. One of those pixies over there.
Oh,
I'm just watching him and like
I'm Van the Pixie.
Oh,
you could
Who's
tell
your
like she
mini?
was trying to be like cordial, and now that he's mocked her name, it's like gone back down again. Like the
oh,
Don't take it
adjusting bars.
personal. Don't take it
You saw like a
personal.
little
Brom doesn't
frowny
never
face, like
anybody.
emoji just pop out of her head and like disappear.
Yeah, like
yes.
and she just kind of shakes her head and starts walking the same way
Alrighty.
as before, pointing out the big hazards and helping them through.
All right, so you guys begin to head off again. Walter, real quick, as you guys start to make your way, make a dexterity saving throw for me.
What have I done this time? What?
You raved too hard.
I
Yeah,
raved too hard. All right, let's dex
Too hard.
save. Don't worry, guys. It's a 19.
Walter, you go to take your first step as you begin to move, and like your foot catches and you almost fall, but you sort of like right yourself. You look down, and somebody has laced your boots together.
I'm blaming Brom for this somehow. I don't know. I'll just, tie
Brom,
them.
funny enough, as you go to put the Bandor back in its case, You like flip open the case and you go to like put the instrument back and you sort of hold it and you look. And somebody has absolutely filled your Bandor case like full to the brim with pine cones.
Nice.
And as Walter sort of trips and Brahm like opens his case and it's full of pine cones, you just hear from like the trees and the trees in the wood line. You hear this chorus of like.
Aylar is going to look very carefully around his feet before he starts walking. Last thing he wants to do is step on a sleeping pixie.
You avoid any pixies. You seem to be in good standing, and you guys are able to make your way off in the direction that Dandelion had indicated to you. And as you are continuing to travel, I'd like you guys to go ahead and make me another survival check.
Don't worry, I'll nat one it again.
25.
Oh no.
10.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I got one of those numbers.
Is it 10?
It's 5.
Okay, well, I was objectively neither of those numbers.
It was one of them.
No, that's
I got a
not.
There was a 5 in the 25.
I got a 25. Oh, I was gonna say, like, but my mic cut
Okay,
out
so we have a
again.
25, we have a
Jason
5,
is
we have a 10.
Real stupid. 14.
And a 14. Okay. You guys continue to make your way in the way that was indicated. Minimir, you, in addition to heading in the direction that the Pixies had indicated, they saw some guys that weren't from around these parts come from one time. You are vaguely aware. You're starting to get like. You're heading away from like your people's territory extends a little more like to the east of here, but you are still pretty like familiar with this terrain. You know these woods very well. You've lived here years and years, and you have a pretty good map in your mind of where all of the the dryad trees are. So with that 25, on kind of a hunch, you head in the directions that the Pixies indicated, but you veer a little bit more north to kind of like bring the arc of your guys' path in closer with a dryad tree that you know is nearby. And after several more hours of walking, as the sun begins to like dip beneath the tree line, you guys hear something up ahead. Go ahead and everybody make a perception check for me real quick, just to see who's hearing what.
19.
Okay.
17.
Whoops. I rolled the performance check by accident.
27.
Brahm goes. And it's very effective. What was it? 20 what?
27.
Oh, geez. Okay.
20 not natural.
Okay. All of you hear from somewhere off in the distance the crunch, 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 crunch of footfalls on the forest floor. Brahm and Alar, with your rolls, you are pretty confident that you differentiate two distinct sets of boots walking across the forest floor, coming from the from where you are, coming from almost directly due west from you, probably not more than a few hundred feet off.
Sounds like two of them.
Coming towards us?
Kind of like backing up.
Coming vaguely in your direction. For Minimir probably has the best sort of like visual concept of this, if you guys are like heading this way towards like up yonder a little further is that dryad tree that you're like sort of heading towards. These guys are like also sort of heading towards that, and are kind of on like an intercept course where like your paths are potentially going to like bump into each other as you both head generally in the same direction.
I want to cast Pass Without a Trace
Okay.
on all of us, so we can stay hidden and follow if we have to.
Alrighty, so you guys see Midamir kind of like crouches down, quickly does some gestures, speaks a few words, and from centered on her, there's sort of this like passes out over you guys, and as it like washes over you, there's like a second where you hear this sort of like in your ears a little bit, and like your vision, everything goes like slightly sepia for a second. And then everything sort of like fades back to normal, and you guys like begin to notice as you like step and your foot like hits the forest floor, the leaves and twigs and stuff that are like under your boots, everything sort of makes this like muted, muffled sound as just like the magic in the air around you is like dampening all sound waves from your movements. And as you look at each other, you see that like it's almost as if like light is not bouncing off of you as strongly. As you guys kind of just like looking at each other, you appear almost like more dulled as this sort of magic washes over you, and you are slightly more stealthy. So what are you doing as these footfalls approach?
If we set an ambush, can we set it so we can hit them at range for a little bit first?
That's probably wisest.
Probably. You're not going to be able to get too much range, as like the density of the forest will prevent clear lines of sight for much further than 40 or 50 feet.
That's plenty.
But I mean, in terms of like sort of your guys' sweet spot for ranges, yeah, you can certainly get. Okay, so that's a plan. You kind of want to like scuttle ahead and then lie in wait, assuming they're heading for that dryad tree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead and make a stealth check, all of you. And then don't forget to add +10 to whatever you roll for the Pass Without a Trace.
Okay, so that's a 30.
Okay.
If it's +10, I get a 27.
Okay.
I got a... Oh wait, I didn't add. Sorry, my brain. I have a 31 right behind Alar.
Okay.
25.
Alright, so you guys fan out, take up positions, and you move into sort of into range of what you see is a similar clearing to the one you had encountered before. However, there is an intact tree in the center of this small little grove. You do see facing most of the way towards you from like the angle that you guys are at, you do see that this one similarly has this very intricate like knot of like animals and flora and fauna. Envision like the tree of life in like Animal Kingdom at Disney World. It looks kind of like that, where it's sort of like on just one side it's sort of been like formed and gnarled into these various shapes. And you guys lie in wait, and about 5 minutes after you guys like set up position, you hear like footfalls approaching. They stop for a bit, and then you guys can make perception checks for me as well.
20.
Okay.
6.
6, 24, and Brom?
And 13.
Okay. You hear the footfalls approaching. They stop. And then Brom and Walter, like once those footfalls stop, you don't hear anything else. Minimir and Alar, you guys hear those two sets of footfalls move a little bit closer. One of the sets stops. and the other continues moving closer alone. But like significantly quieter than it was sort of on approach. And then a figure emerges from the far side of the little grove from where you guys have taken a position. You kind of hear them sort of approach and then do like sort of a exploratory half circle away from you guys and then emerge from the tree line. It appears to be a humanoid creature, human probably, based on their size and build. They are wearing dark, sort of like uniform brown, just like woodsman's clothes, but they are like their head is covered. They have like a hood pulled over a cloak. You see them approach this tree. Kind of see the head turn up. They look over this tree. They reach into their cloak. They pull out and unfold a piece of parchment. Kind of look it over. Fold it back up. Slip it back into the cloak. And then reach in again. And out comes an axe. They step up to the base of the tree and bring the axe back.
They are getting Eldritch blasted.
Being shot, yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to try to...
yeah. They are... let's go ahead and roll initiative real quick. They are surprised as they do not know you're here.
Okay. 17.
17. Alar.
19.
21. Walter. 19. Minimir. And Brom, what do you got?
24 with a natural 20.
Oh, very nice. All right, so Brom, you are the quickest to the draw as this person slings out this axe and brings it back to swing at this tree. What are you doing?
I'm whipping out Bianca and casting Entangle.
Cool. Okay, that's a dex save on their part, right?
I believe so.
Is it dex or is it strength? I think it's dex.
It's just strength saving throw.
Okay, strength. They're gonna fail. It's only an 8. So you strum the a note out on the band door, and from the ground beneath this individual's feet, right at the base of this tree, all of these like vines and grasses like grow and extend and just wrap up. They grab his like around his waist and his legs. A thick tendril like wraps around the bicep of his trailing arm, like the power generating arm for the swing. So he very quickly like in like mid chop stops and he gives out this kind of like shout of surprise as he's like wrapped up. Walter, what are you doing?
He's getting hit with 2 Eldritch Blasts, or at
All
least
right.
an attempt to. 13 to hit, and a 8 to hit.
The 8 will not hit. The 13, I believe, will.
Okay.
Yes, the 13 does hit. The 8 does
right.
not.
So he's going to take 10 points of force damage and
Okay.
get pushed 10 feet away from the tree.
I believe because of Russell's entangle, he is incapable of being pushed currently, because the vines hold him in place. But he does take that 10 points of damage.
God damn it! All right.
You do kind of see him like the Eldritch Blast hits him, and he sort of like folds.
I just
like
wanted to get
folds
him away
backwards.
from the tree.
He like a little bit as if he has like Michael Jackson hooks in his shoes, boots. He sort of like leans real far back from the impact of the Eldritch Blast hitting him, but like the roots kind of holding on to him, give him purchase to like pull himself back straight, and now he's like whipping his head around trying to find the source of his attacks. Minimir, what are you doing?
Has the other guy moved yet, or is he just?
You
watching
do
his
not.
friend
You
get-
do not hear or see another guy. They stopped.
I heard the
Several
descend
hundred.
one went forward. Okay.
Several hundred feet They probably stopped like 100 or so feet like outside of this clearing. So you don't see or hear them at this point.
I will just take a normal shot at him, a longbow.
Okay,
shot at
go ahead and roll the hit.
That is a 17 to hit.
That definitely hits. Go ahead and roll some damage.
10 points of damage.
10 points of damage. Okay. So you hit him pretty square in like the meat of the chest, opposite side of where his heart is. And the arrow like sticks into him, and he goes like ah! And immediately like he lets go of the axe with one hand, and the other hand like goes to this arrow that has just like sprouted from his chest. Which brings us to Alar.
Damn, I was hoping the other one was closer. I'm gonna move off under stealth toward where I assume the other person is.
Okay, is this you're taking a dash action? Or like your normal movement speed?
I'm taking my normal movement speed, which
okay. Go ahead and make a stealth check then.
31.
Okay. And you're looking to see if you can find this other person?
Yeah, if I can see them, or I'm pretty sure I know where they are, I'm going to cast web in the area.
Okay. Make a perception check.
Big money, big money. Ooh, big money. 26.
You look, and for the life of you, you do not see a second person.
All right. Then I will hold my action for the moment.
Okay. All right. It is the stranger's turn. They're gonna make a strength check. That is a 12 against your DC, your spell save DC, Brahm. Are they strong enough to break out of these?
Still tangled.
Okay. So he begins to like pull at these vines and try and pull himself free. He starts kind of like chipping. He like chokes up way up on the axe and starts to like try and like chip away at these, trying not to cut himself at the same time. And he is not capable of pulling himself free. That is all he's gonna do on his turn, and then okay, and then some stuff happens, and then it is back to the top of the order for Brahm.
Does a cantrip break concentration on another spell?
Unless it's
Only if it's a
unless it's a concentration spell, it will not. What do you want? What are you trying to cast?
Blade Ward.
Blade Ward is a concentration.
Yeah,
spell,
Blade Ward, I believe, is concentration.
Then I'm going to maintain my concentration on the entanglement.
Okay.
And with the held action of if he breaks out, I'm going to cast Cloud of Daggers.
Okay. Alrighty.
So, out of one spiky bush into a cloud of more spiky things.
Sure. All right. That is Brahm's turn. Walter, you are up.
I'm gonna. I'm gonna hit him with the Lich Slap.
Okay.
Chill touch, or try to. Yeah, it's a 24 to hit.
Definitely hits.
He takes 9 points of necrotic damage and cannot gain hit points until the start of my next turn.
All right. So you basically,
If he's undead, he has disadvantage against me.
yeah, this is where you discover he was a lich the whole time. He casts Cloud Kill, and you all die.
Right.
He sort of you like send out this necrotic spectral hand that just rushes towards him and just like hits him in the center of the chest and like bursts over him in this necrotic wave of energy, and he goes, "Oh!" He like drops down, one knee heavily like hits the ground, and you see Brahms like entangling roots and vines like creep further and like grab more securely onto him as he's now like down on one knee and just like basically pinned there. Minimir, it is your turn. So this guy's still on his feet in the sense that he's not a corpse at this point, but he has been like pulled to one knee.
How wide is the base of the dryad tree?
It's probably similar in size to the other one that they had seen. It's probably this one's maybe a little bigger. You think maybe if like you and one of the others here were to like stand on opposite sides of it and like hold out your arms, you could probably like link hands around it.
It's a friendship tree.
It is, yeah. So it's several feet in diameter.
Okay. Well, that's good enough for me. We're going to drop concentration on Pass Without a Trace.
Okay.
And cast Spike Growth, a 20-foot radius centered around the tree, outward.
Okay.
They take damage if they enter into that space.
So he'll take damage on his turn, I believe.
Yes.
Because he starts his turn.
Anytime they move, he starts in it. And
okay.
Take damage for every 5 feet traveled within it. And it's a 20-foot radius.
Very nice. So in addition to Brahms vines, the forest floor rises up in like vengeance at this person. It's just this like thicket of brambles and thorny vines with these like nasty looking 1.5 inch long thorns on them, just like grow up all around this guy's feet. And Alar, what are you doing? You can sort of like see and hear this off to your side, as it seems like this guy's getting pretty wrecked up. But you sort of position yourself now between like where he and your group are and where like you suspect this other person to be or have been.
I am staying put, and I'm trying to spot them. If they're going either to help or if they're running for help, I'm trying to either catch sight of them or catch a listen of them.
Okay, make a perception check again.
27 this time.
You hear the sound of your comrades engaging this guy, and this guy's kind of like grunting and shouting a little bit as like they just like fling things out at him from the tree line. And either the sound of that is like masking an emotion of this other individual, or they're like standing stock still, or like they've like run off or something, as like you look and you're listening and you don't see or hear any sign of this other person in the vicinity of this area.
Then I'm staying silent and not moving either. They appear to have the situation in hand, and if there's an ambush, I want to ambush the ambusher.
Alrighty. Then it will be the stranger's turn. Go ahead and roll that damage for your spell there, Brittany. As he is in it. Is this a dex save for half damage type of situation?
Sorry, I forgot. Wisdom.
Wisdom.
It's a wisdom check.
So he's
It's
gonna
a perception check to see if they see the spikes.
Okay. Since they sprung up literally on him, I'm going to assume he does know they're there. Though he is still struggling against Brahms' entanglement. He's going to make a strength check of 22. So he will break out of the he finally, like, with one heave of effort, he like rips out of these vines.
Yeah, but boy, is it more bad news, because then my held action goes off.
Your held action goes off, and he basically like stands himself up, but he's like encircled by all this other stuff. So he's gonna take your held action, and he's gonna take the damage from that from the thorn growth. So go ahead and both of you.
I'm gonna do it at second level.
Alrighty. It's a dex. It's a wisdom save for the thorns, right?
Yes.
13 points of damage. And he just takes that damage from the Cloud of Daggers.
Cloud of Daggers doesn't have a dex save? Shit, dude.
Nope. If they're in it, they're in it.
Okay, so what I imagine this looks like. I imagine this looks a little bit like if he had stood up into a garbage disposal as he bursts out of these vines and flings himself upward, and as he does, the thorny, gnarled, as Chat has put it, devil's snare of Minimir's spell rises up at him, and then he stands up, and basically the cloud of daggers appears. So he just pushes himself upright, and there is a brief moment where there's just a 20-foot spray of blood in a 360-degree direction. It splatters the forest floor around him. It slicks up the side of the dryad tree, and then after all of this sort of clears, this blood mist that is created clears. You see just the top portion of him is just cut to ribbons, and his very much dead corpse just thumps onto the ground, unmoving. At this point, we are out of initiative in the traditional sense. At this point, Alar, I think regardless of your a perception check that you might make, you do not see or hear anybody in the vicinity. So we'll drop out of initiative here, so you guys can just act freely as to what's going on. As this guy's very dead, so his fight is over, and there does not appear to be a second combatant incoming.
Well, he pulled out a piece of paper. Let's go see what that says.
Yeah, Alar will finally, step out of the forest. Damn, the other one must have run.
If we're going near him, I'm dropping concentration so that
Sure.
we don't get stabbed by the thing. Although
the ground returns.
you have advantage on a wisdom
I'll
check if you want.
the cloud of daggers as well.
Yeah, you have advantage on a wisdom check. I would assume if you wanted to try to carefully step through it to keep the tree protected, but.
You cast Wall of Thorns?
No, spike growth. It's a wisdom
Gotcha.
check against my spell DC to recognize the terrain as hazardous before entering it. It doesn't you don't get half damage if you pass. You just can
Gotcha,
avoid it,
gotcha.
maybe.
So, I'm pretty sure because with cloud daggers, it just says a creature
Like a
takes
space.
44 slashing damage when it enters the spell's area for the first time, or on it starts a turn there. So I don't think there's any sort of save. I think it's just
That's
like
fine.
It's
His
specific-
goose was real
Cloud of
cooked
knives.
Yeah,
regardless.
both of those are just you're screwed.
Yeah,
if a
there
cloud of
is no
knives shows
attack
up,
save,
you
yeah.
just get getting
It's-
stabbed.
It's
He
like
got-
he was in a bramble with
It's just-
knife bees just swarming his head.
Yeah, he got
You
blendered.
literally put that man in a blender. Yeah.
Yes, he got very blendered. Okay, so you guys are approaching the tree.
Yep.
Okay.
Tabletop Legends episode 51. Will it blend?
Will
Yes.
it blend? Oh boy. All right, you approach the tree. What are you guys doing?
I'm going to check the body, see if there's anything worth recovering.
Okay, go ahead and make.
I'm
an
gonna keep
investigation check.
looking around for
Uh,
anyone
I would-
else.
Okay.
I would like to do
Sorry.
a medicine check to see if there's enough of a head left for me to talk to it and ask him questions if we need to.
Okay,
That's
I
going to
am
do a
on
miss.
fire. 27.
27 investigation. Okay, what is your perception check, Minimir, for your scoping the area?
19 plus 6, so 25.
Okay.
Making me do math.
You don't really need to make a medicine check, since he literally stood his head up into a cloud of daggers. I am gonna say that the head is probably ravaged too badly to effectively speak with you if you try to speak with dead him. His most of his face and his jaw have been just blended clear off of his body. He has more of a gnarled pencil eraser on top of his neck as opposed to a head per se at this point. But with with the investigation check on Alar's part and with the perception check from Minimir, the scene before us at this point is thus. Alar, on this individual's body, you find no like coinage or identification or anything like that, like on his person. You find the pack that he carries has enough like rations for a several day journey. You find the paper that you had seen him pull out. You find that on him. You unfold it and you look at it, and you see that it does appear to be a map of what you assume to be this region of this forest. And on it there are a number of like X's that have been written onto the map at a number of locations. You see a couple of those X's have been like further scribbled out. And you know what? We'll have this last part since Walter did a medicine check. We'll have Walter discover this last part. Walter, as you are kind of doing a medicine check and looking over this body, you roll up one of the sleeves, and you find on the interior of the forearm tattooed in black ink an insignia. It is a stylized bird, along with a horse-drawn carriage contained in like a half circle. And you particularly would immediately recognize this symbol as the equivalent to your own Moxum brand. This is the symbol indicating that this is an employee of Mavix Wells Overland, which is another large competing trade company to the Moxum Trading and Mercantile. Minimir.
I don't.
Go ahead.
Gosh, I don't feel bad about killing this guy.
Minimir.
Mhm.
You, with your perception check, as they are kind of like tossing this body looking for clues, you catch a movement along the wood line, opposite from the side that like you guys all came from. An individual moves into the clearing. It is humanoid in form, and you would almost say vaguely female, as like softer features, kind of a like the sort of the curvature of its body is vaguely feminine, but it has large, dark, like almond-shaped eyes that are much bigger than like a human or an elf's eyes. They have no like distinct pupil, iris, sclera. They're just sort of like black. The skin of this creature is a kind of an oaky color, and actually as you're looking you see it's almost a little bit textured, and instead of hair you see a thick tangle of what looks very much like Spanish moss, instead of that lightish kind of green and cream colored curly dangling like floof of natural material, and that same sort of material forms what essentially looks like a short, lightish, breathable dress that this creature is wearing. Alar, you like finishing your investigation, you stand up off the ground holding the axe that this man was carrying, and you immediately can see that there is an arcane rune that has been etched into the axe head. And the axe is like pristine in condition, perfectly clean, spotless. The lacquered handle is like free of scuffs, tarnishes, cracks, or dirt or anything like that. And the blade, you can instantly tell, is like extremely sharp, extremely clean, well maintained. You kind of are looking at this axe as you then look up to see the same thing that I just described there to Minimir. The Dryad steps into the clearing, looking from you guys to the corpse on the ground, and she says, "You have defended our sacred tree. You are friends of the forest, then."
I'm just bowing, like Legolas when Gandalf came back, you
Sure.
know, dropping to a knee and bowing my head and just reverently, you know, nodding slowly, like kind of almost afraid to speak because of the tension in the forest lately. Like I'm just like, yes, like thank you.
Alar will set the axe down on the ground and stand up. Yes, we are. You didn't happen to see any sign of the other one who was with this one?
The Dryad's eyes kind of look, as you say, you mentioned this other one, it kind of looks back at Minimir for a moment. And it says, "They have fled."
Damn.
And I think that's a good place to call an end to tonight's session, because it is 10:30.
Quick question.
Yeah,
ahead.
really, great.
What was the name of that rival company? I just need to throw up my notes.
The insignia that you found is that person bears the brand of the Mavix Wells. So it's hyphenated. Mavix, Mavix -Wells Overland.
Got it. They are marked as a rival company in my enemies tab now.
They are a. They're not strictly speaking like enemies of Moxham, but they are a company with whom Moxham competes for contracts and control of trade routes and things like that. So that is our session for tonight, as you guys have uncovered a strange, mysterious individual wielding what at first glance appears to be perhaps an enchanted axe of some sort. You have lost track of apparently their companion, who you have not seen but heard was in the area. You have protected a dryad tree from certain doom and opened a tenuous dialogue with a dryad of the forest. So I will bid you all good night with with the following. Thank you to our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle, as well, of course, as Many-Sided Dice, Team MZ, and the Twitch affiliate program. And when you are throwing a Pixie rave, always be sure to bring the best snacks, the best light show, the best music, and some sweet marbles to wow your potential attendees. And do not forget to add your proficiency bonus. We will see you next Tuesday, same time, same place. Please join us again, and have a great night, everybody. Don't forget.
I don't know.
Bye.